What's up, y'all? So before I get started, I want to tell y'all about how I stay healthy. Somebody asked me how I stay healthy, or if I take any drugs or anything like that. So I do. So let me show you my drug routine. So you have our anti-malaria pill. I also take a multivitamin because you should take a multivitamin. You should just do it because it's good for you. Okay. I take biotin because I want locks down in my butt. So take one of those. And my multivitamin has biotin in it too. But I want locks down in my butt. Take that. And apparently I have asthma now. So we take our Advair. Have to rinse after Advair so you don't get thrush. And I have allergies, so we take our Nasacort. And that's how I keep myself together here in Rwanda. I have a sty right now. It's been here for a minute. Don't pay it any mind though. I'm handling it. Hot compresses. Okay. So today was a very, very heavy day. We went to Kigali and we went to the Genocide Memorial Museum. Now, if you've been keeping up with my videos, I gave you a history as to what I researched about the genocide here in Rwanda. And it's like one thing to know, but it's another thing to see it. And I'm by no means saying that I've seen it. All I can really say is that I've seen the pictures and the exhibits and things that were in the museum, but even that was very rattling. So we walked around, and it was just like your average museum, lots of pictures. There were videos with people giving their testimonials. They had human remains inside the museum. So you could walk into this entire room just full of skulls and bones, and that really hit me really hard. And they had a room full of pictures of people who were killed during the genocide, and then also on those grounds there were mass graves for victims of the genocide. If you check my Instagram, you can actually see a picture of those mass graves. So one thing that really hit me, they were asking us like what our major feeling was after we left the museum. And my major feeling was just like pure confusion. Like, I don't understand how you could hate someone so much that you felt obligated to eradicate them from the planet. That you feel obligated to take their lives, to deny them of any future and any influence that they could have in our planet, in our world. And then, especially coming from like a genocide standpoint, how you can listen to what some other people have said who aren't even a part of your culture, who have nothing to do with your history, who have come in and told you that these people are better than you because of XYZ. Like, I don't understand how that happens. And like, that's really like something that like when I came to Rwanda that I was definitely struggling with, was like that how, like not understanding how it would happen, how it can happen. And but genocide happens everywhere. Like, they also had, so the downstairs level was just the Rwanda genocide, but if you went upstairs, they had lots of information about other genocides in the past. And it's like, genocides happen everywhere. And one thing that's really interlinked between all the genocides that I've seen is they're usually like government based. Like, the government starts the genocide. The government hands out the propaganda, and how media plays a role in genocide. So that's why it's really important to formulate your own opinions and not just listen to what the news has said. It's really important to think about what you feel and why you feel that, how your perceptions have influenced those feelings. And walking through the exhibit where it was just filled with pictures, like the only thing in my mind was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry that you were removed from this planet before you had a chance to make your impact on it, that you died in such like these horrible ways. Like, when we went upstairs and we looked at the other genocides, it was like 1 million people in 2 years, 1 million people in 3 years, but 1 million people in 100 days. That was the Rwanda genocide. 1 million people in 100 days. That's 400 people an hour. That's 400 people an hour that they were killing with machetes. That's hand-to-hand, face-to-face combat with hand grenades. They threw people into pit latrines, into the holes where we have to go to the bathroom now. They set them on fire. And like one exhibit that really hit me really hard is they had an entire exhibit dedicated to the children who were killed. Because if you think about it, like if your goal is to remove an entire culture and an entire race of people, you start with that culture and that race of people's future, which is their children. So they had, before you walk into it, they had a sign that said that a lot of these children's parents, their parents gave the only pictures that they had of their children. And you know, sometimes the only picture they had is their child when they were 2, and that child was killed when they were 12, you know. So, but like you walked in and you saw the picture, and then on the plaque it said, "This is Bernice." Bernice was 3. Bernice was a daddy's girl, and she was quiet. She liked to drink milk. Her favorite color was blue. Her best friend was her mom, and she was killed by being smashed into a wall. Or this is, there was a brother and a sister, like Yvette and Yvez. And Yvette was 1, and Yvez was 10 months. And it was like Yvez was a mama's boy, and Yvette was a daddy's girl. And they were always conjoined at the hip, always seen at each other. And someone threw a grenade into their house, and that's how they died. Or another one that really hit me was Fabio, or something like that. Fabio was 10, and he liked to play football, and his favorite food was Fanta and chips with lots of mayonnaise, and he liked to laugh, and he liked to make people laugh, and someone hacked him up with a machete. And it's like I just don't understand how you go from 0 to 60 and you kill people that you don't know. But what also happened is that there were neighbors killing neighbors. Like one article of this child who was killed, or who was beaten nearly to death, she said that the man who beat her was a man who worked for her father, was a man that her mother gave lunch to on the regular, was a man who came to their property every single day. She knew him. And when he was clubbing her, she just kept asking, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You know me, you know my family." And she said that he kept clubbing her until she stopped moving, and then he went away, and she was able to regain consciousness and run away. And it's like, how do you kill your neighbors, your friends, your spouse, your children? Like the propaganda was like the Tutsi cockroaches want to take over our planet, and if your wife or your child is Tutsi, even though they don't outright say it, like they're working to push the Tutsi agenda forward, so you should kill them. And then there was like this whole list of like bylaws of what it meant to be Hutu. So if you associate with Tutsis in any way, you're a traitor. If you marry Tutsi, you're a traitor. If you don't kill your Tutsi children, you're a traitor. And it's like, you married this person. You gave birth to this person. And now you're smashing them against walls and cutting them up with a machete. And I don't understand what makes people do such things. And then there was a video of this woman talking about how not everyone was evil, because she was someone hid her. And they had like lists of people who had hid maybe like 17 people. They had one woman who pretended to be a witch, and that's how she was able to hide people in her house, because people thought that she was a witch and that she was crazy. So they didn't want to mess with her for fear of being cursed. And she was able to hide people in her house. And they also had stories of people who had hidden people, but someone else had ratted on them and they had died as well. And it's like I just can't comprehend. But like, it happens. Like, this was not the first genocide, and unfortunately I don't think it's going to be the last, because we live in a world where people feel like if they don't like you and if they disagree with your beliefs or your values or your method of thinking, that they have the right and they have the moral obligation to remove you from this planet. It makes zero sense to me. And then after the museum, we went upstairs so that way we could process and have that opportunity to talk about what we were feeling and why we were feeling it. And one of our staff, she told us that she was classified as Tutsi and that she had lost her parents. And one of the main questions I had was like, before I came here, was like, what is like working, because I have a background in trauma. I have a background working with victims of domestic violence. So it's like, what kind of self-care plan do these people have? What kind of assistance has been provided to these people to help them process what's happened to them? And they had, in the museum, they had an exhibit of like the people who had done the killing coming forward and confessing what they had done. And like one guy was like, I was sick, but I have medicine and I'm okay now. And they were like, well, tell us what you did. And he was like, well, I shot these people and I cut this person and I did this, that, and the other, but I was sick and now I've taken medicine, so I'm okay now. And it's like, what do you... Like, you can't just brush off the fact that you killed an entire family. You can't just brush off the fact that you killed your neighbor that you knew. You can't just sweep that under the rug and say that you were ill and now you've taken medicine and that makes it okay now. It's not okay. And we were asking our staff who had survived the genocide, like, what kind of self-care she had and what she was doing. And she was telling us that, like, basically, like, when the genocide ended, the object of the RPF, who actually had the major hand in, lights going away, put that there, who had the main hand in ending the genocide, the only thing that their main goal was to stop the killing. So when they ended the genocide, they wanted to stop the killing. So the government had to have a hand on everybody, like, you stop killing, you don't come for revenge. And then another thing is that this group of people who had been exiled in the 50s, in 94 after the genocide, they wanted to come home. They wanted to be back in their homeland. So that's what they did, is they moved on back into their homeland. So, like, during the 50s, a bunch of people had been exiled because Rwanda had many genocides that led up to the 100-day genocide that people think of when they think about Rwanda. So those people who had been exiled were like, yo, this is over, the country's changed, the country's different, I'm Rwandan, I want to be in my country. So they came back. So the government, like, had so many people to deal with, and then it's like, it was one large group of people. Like, the girl who was talking about not everyone was evil said that 5% were good, 5% were neutral, and 90% were evil. You can't put that entire 90% of people in prison. So when the RPF came in, they said, you stop killing Hutus, or you stop killing Tutsis. Tutsis, don't kill the Hutus for revenge. All you exiled people that have come back, be here, don't kill nobody. Like, that was like the only thing that the RPF could really do. So these people who had been victims of the genocide are now forced to live in the same community and the same environment, who had a hand in trying to eradicate their race. And our staff worker was telling us that, like, currently she lives here and her office is here, and here are people who killed people that lived across the street from them, and here are the people who killed her parents. And I'm like, no, I can't see you every day knowing what you've done. I can't live in the same community as you knowing what you've done. Honestly, I don't want to breathe the same oxygen that you breathe, knowing what you've done. And one thing that they were saying was that, like, forgiveness, like, a lot of people went to the church because of their faith that told them to forgive. And that's another thing that I wonder, like, how can you still have faith after this has happened? Like, that makes no sense to me. That's crazy to me. Like, what kind of God allows that to happen? But it's also like, some people went to the church because their faith told them to forgive. And she was telling us that, like, as soon as she moved into that community and she found that those people who had killed her parents were living there, she went up to them and was like, don't ask me for forgiveness. tell me where my parents are buried, or tell me where you put my parents, and that's the end of it. Like, don't ask me for forgiveness. Tell me where my parents are, and that's the end of it. That's all that I have, that I want to do with you. And she says that she's cordial, but she has not forgiven them. And I completely understand that, because forgiveness is a very, very touchy thing. People often say that, like, once you forgive, that takes a weight off of you. But it's like, just because you don't forgive doesn't mean that you're burdened with this weight. Like, if you understand and you accept your feelings behind it, and you understand why you feel this way, who am I to tell you that you need to do X, Y, and Z so you can feel X, Y, and Z? You know what you feel. And another thing that she was saying was, like, sometimes you can find, like, a cousin or a family member, and then the two of you can sit down and you can talk together because you know that you've experienced something. But if somebody else comes up, you stop talking about it because you don't know that other person. And, like, one thing they were telling us during our training here is that Rwandans are very shy. Rwandans do not open up to people. And it's, like, rightfully so, because you don't know who you can trust. And I'll admit that a lot of times when I meet somebody new, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, were you Hutu or were you Tutsi? Like, what were you doing back then? Like, did you lose family? Did you kill somebody? Did you rat on somebody and get somebody killed? And of course, these are never questions that I would ask out loud, but they're questions that I have. And then one of our volunteer trainers was saying, like, another thing that plays in is, like, if I associate with you, how am I going to be perceived by the rest of the community? Because I'm sure that they know who you are and what you've done, you know? So it's like, how is that going to affect me? And that has to do with how we integrate into our community, considering how associating with that person or that person is going to change our reputation with our community. Because without being integrated, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to be able to do our jobs as volunteers. So, like, I've worked in trauma before, and definitely during the museum, like, I started off without my victims advocacy hat on, and then I went through that room full of human remains, and I shed my tears, and I had to put my victims advocate hat on, because one thing that you learn on the job is to empathize with your clients, but not to be so overrun with emotion that you can't be able to do your job. And if that's what I have to do, because another thing that our volunteer trainer was telling us was that she was hanging out at her house one day, and one of her guy friends came over to the house, and they were kicking it, hanging out, talking about music, and he just started telling her his story about what happened to him during the genocide. And it's like, that's heavy. And it's like when I meet people, like, I want to know, but that's not something that you ask. So it's definitely like, when you're unprepared to receive it, that's definitely something different. And she has a background in counseling, so she has her counselor hat. But if you're not prepared, you can't put that hat on. You can't get into that mindset. But it's just bananas. Like, that was one of the major things that I was thinking about when I found out that I was going to Rwanda. Like, what is it going to be like to be in a post-genocide community, in a community where so much trauma has happened in my lifetime? And then walking through the children's room, like, one of the girls that I read was 3 years old. I was 3 years old in 94. You know, like, that little girl would be my age. Who knows what she would be doing? Would she have a college degree? Would she be getting her master's? Would she be an entrepreneur? Would she have invented something amazing that's going to change the world? Would she have been an amazing author? Would she have been an actor? Would she have owned a business? Like, she doesn't have a future anymore because other people from a different culture came into this community and said that person is better than you because of X, Y, and Z. And that being told that was conditioned and ingrained and forced into them so hardcore that they accepted it enough to go out into their communities and murder their neighbors. They attempted to remove an entire generation of people. And in the museum, one thing that really hit me was, like, these are the people that we know about. These are the people who had family members who can still remember them. But what about the people whose entire families are gone? They had one exhibit where they had just this picture of this mass grave outside of this family's house, and that like that entire family was found in that mass grave. They didn't have any identification. Nobody knows who they are. There's no documentation that they were ever on this planet. And that's crazy to me. Because, you know, being in America, we're very much about, hey, I'm here. These are my thoughts. Check my Twitter. Follow my Facebook. Look at my Instagram. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm here. Look at me. But here, that's not going on, you know? So it's just very heavy. And being here in Rwanda is going to be a very heavy experience. And it's like I have 2 years here. I have 2 years here. I've been here for 7 weeks. I'm starting my 7th week. I have 2 years here. So it's just like really hard to think about, you know? But I did my research and I'm ready for this challenge. Like, you can never be fully prepared for anything, but I'm definitely ready to engage in my community and talk to my community. But those questions are always still going to be in the back of my head of, were you classified as Hutu? Were you classified as Tutsi? Did you lose anybody? Did you kill anybody? Did you rat on anybody and get them killed? But, you know, sometimes your questions don't get answered. And it's important not to dwell on that, because that's not why I'm here. It's important for me to remember that I'm here to get this experience, that I'm here to learn about myself, that I'm here to see what I'm capable of. You know, that I'm here to figure out what it is that I want to do with myself. So that's just what I have to focus on. But it was just real heavy today. Yeah. Alright, y'all. What's poppin'? It's your girl, Nay. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to push that like button and push that subscribe button. Share this on all of your social media. Here is all of my information. I'm going to check you guys later, alright? Deuces. What's poppin'? It's your girl, Nay. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to push that like button and push that subscribe button. Share this on all of your social media. Here is all of my information. I'm going to check you guys later, alright? Deuces.